Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Pastor Todd Summer. I pastor at Faith of Victory Church in Auburn, Washington, and I'm reading the Bible every single day of the year. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate that. Today, we're going to talk about how the Bible says you should not cast your pearls before swine or pigs. So let's get right into it. Today's verses, we have Matthew 7, Exodus 37, Exodus 38, and Proverbs 17. Matthew 7, judging others. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Ask, seek, and knock. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be open. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if you ask for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will the Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law of the prophets. The narrow and the wide gate. Enter through the narrow gate, for the wide gate is broad and the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. True and false prophets. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from the thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by the fruit you will recognize them, true and false disciples. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does my will of the Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. The wise and foolish builders. Therefore, anyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears the words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. When Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, because he had taught as one who had authority, and not as the teachers of the law. Exodus 37, the ark. Bezaleel had made the ark of acacia wood 2.5 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide, and a cubit and a half high. He overlaid it with pure gold, both inside and out, and made a gold molding around it. He cast 4 rings for it and fastened them to its 4 feet, with 2 rings on the side and 2 rings on the other. He made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, and he inserted the poles into the rings of the side of the ark to carry it. He made the atonement cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide. He made the 2 cherubim out of the hammered gold at the ends of the cover. He made 1 cherubim on one end and the second cherubim on the other. And the 2 ends he made them one piece with the cover. The cherubim had their wings spread upward, overshadowing the cover with them. The cherubim faced each other, looking toward the cover. The table. They made the table of acacia wood, 2 cubits long, a cubit wide, and a cubit and a half high. Then they overlaid it with pure gold and made a gold molding around it. They made around it a rim a hand breadth wide, and put a gold molding on the rim. They cast 4 gold rings for the table and fastened them to the 4 corners, where the 4 legs were. The rings were put close to the rim to hold the poles used in carrying the table. The poles for carrying the table were made of acacia wood and were overlaid with gold, and they made from pure gold the articles for the table, its plates and dishes and bowls, and its pitchers for pouring out of drink offerings. The lampstand. They made the lampstand of pure gold. They hammered out its base and shaft and made its flower-like cups, buds, and blossoms of one piece of them. 6 branches extended from the sides of the lampstand, 3 on one side and 3 on the other. 3 cups shaped like almond flowers with buds and blossoms were on one branch, 3 on the next branch, and the same for all 6 branches extending from the lampstand. And on the lampstand were 4 cups shaped like almond flowers with buds and blossoms. 1 bud was under the first pair of branches extending from the lampstand, a second bud under the second pair, and a third bud under the third pair. 6 branches in all. The buds and branches were all in one piece with the lampstand, hammered out of pure gold. They made its 7 lamps, as well as its wick, trimmers, and trays of pure gold. They made the lampstand and all its accessories from 1 talent of pure gold. The altar of incense. They made the altar incense out of acacia wood. It was square, a cubit long, and a cubit wide, and 2 cubits high. Its horns of one piece with it. They overlaid the top and all the sides and the horns with pure gold, and they made a gold molding around it. They made 2 gold rings below the molding, 2 on each of the opposite sides, to hold the poles used to carry it. They made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. They also made the sacred anointing oil and the pure fragrant incense, the work of a perfumer. Exodus 38, the altar of burnt offering. They built an altar of burnt offering of acacia wood, 3 cubits high. It was square, 5 cubits long, and 5 cubits wide. They made a horn at each end of the 4 corners, so that the horns and the altar were of one piece, and they overlaid the altar with bronze. They made all the utensils of bronze, its pots, shovels, sprinkling bowls, meat forks, and fire pans. They made a grating for the altar, a bronze network to be under the ledge halfway up the altar. They cast bronze rings to hold the poles for the 4 corners of the bronze grating. They made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. They inserted the poles into the rings so they would be on the sides of the altar for carrying it. They made it hollow out of boards. The basin for washing. They made a bronze basin and its bronze stand from the mirrors of the women who served at the entrance to the tent of the meeting. The courtyard. Next they made the courtyard. The south side was 100 cubits long and had curtains of finely twisted linen, and 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, with the silver hooks and bands on the posts. The north side was also 100 cubits long and had 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, with the silver hooks and bands on the posts. The west end was 50 cubits wide and had curtains, with 10 posts and 10 bases, with the silver hooks and bands on the posts. The east end towards the sunrise was also 50 cubits wide. Curtains 15 cubits long were on one side of the entrance, and 3 posts and 3 bases, and curtains 15 cubits long were on the other side of the entrance to the courtyard, with 3 posts and 3 bases. All the curtains around the courtyard were of finely twisted linen. The bases for the posts were bronze. The hooks and bands on the posts were silver, and their tops were overlaid with silver, so all the posts on the courtyard had silver bands. The curtain for the entrance to the courtyard was made of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer. It was 20 cubits long, and like the curtains in the courtyard, 5 cubits high, with 4 posts and 4 bronze bases. Their hooks and bands were silver, and the tops were overlaid with silver. All the tent pegs of the tabernacle and of the surrounding courtyard were bronze. The materials used. These are the amounts of materials used for the tabernacle. The tabernacle of the covenant law, which were recorded at Moses' command by the Levites under the direction of Ithamar, son of Aaron, the priest, Bezalel, son of Uri, and the son of Hur of the tribe of Judah, made everything the Lord commanded Moses. With him was Oholibab, son of Ashamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and designer, and an embroiderer in blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine linen. The total amount of gold from the wave offering used for all the work in the sanctuary was 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. The silver obtained from those of the community were counted in the census was 100 talents and 1,775 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. 1 beka per person, that is half a shekel, according to the sanctuary shekel, from everyone who had crossed over to those counted, 20 years old or more, a total of 603,550 men. The 100 talents of silver were used to cast the bases for the sanctuary and for the curtain, 100 bases from the 100 talents, one for each base. They used the 1,775 shekels to make the hooks for the posts, to overlay the tops of the posts, and to make their bands. The bronze from the wave offering was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. They used it to make the bases for the entrance to the tent of the meeting, the bronze altar with its bronze grating and all its utensils, the bases for the surrounding courtyard, and those for its entrance, and all the tent pegs for the tabernacle, and those for the surrounding courtyard. Proverbs 17. Better a dry crust with peace than a quiet house full of feasting with a strife. A prudent servant will rule over a disgraceful son and will share the inheritance as one of the family. The crucible for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the heart. A wicked person listens to deceitful lips. A liar pays attention to a destructive tongue. Whoever mocks the poor shows contempt for their maker. Whoever gloats over disaster will not go unpunished. Children are the crown to the aged, and parents are the pride of their children. Eloquent lips are unsuited to a godless fool. How much worse lying lips to a ruler. A bribe is seen as a charm by the one who gives it. They think success will come at every turn. Whoever would foster love covers an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. A rebuke impresses a discerning person more than 100 lashes a fool. Evildoers foster rebellion against God. The messenger of death will be sent against them. Better to meet a bear robbed of her cubs than a fool bent on folly. Evil will never leave the house of the one who pays back evil for good. Starting a quarrel is like breaching a dam, so drop the matter before a dispute breaks out. Acquitting the guilty and condemning the innocent, the Lord detests them both. Why should fools have money in hand to buy wisdom, when they are not able to understand it? A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. One who has no sense shakes hands in pledge and puts up security for a neighbor. Whoever loves a quarrel loves sins. Whoever builds a high gate invites destruction. One whose heart is corrupt does not prosper. One whose tongue is perverse falls into trouble. To have a fool for a child brings grief. There is no joy for the parent of a godless fool. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. The wicked accepts bribes in the secret to pervert the course of justice. A discerning person keeps wisdom in view, but a fool's eyes wander in the ends of the earth. A foolish son brings grief to his father and bitterness to his mother who bore him. If imposing a fine on the innocent is not good, surely to flog honest officials is not right. The one who has knowledge uses words and restraint, and whoever has understanding is even-tempered. Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues. Amen, amen. Thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate that. I would also really appreciate if you gave this video a like, leave a comment, and hit the subscribe button so you can get notified of this in the future. Pastor Todd out. Have a great night. God bless.